Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to have a look at variation. I want us to have a look at variation in the topic of formulae and variation. Now, I want to say this about variation. There are four different types of variation. There are four different types of variation. Now, the four different types of variation are: one is direct variation, one is direct variation, one is direct variation. That is the first type of variation. Secondly, we have that is inverse variation. We have inverse variation. We have inverse variation. Then thirdly, we have that is joint variation. We have joint variation. Then fourthly, we have that is partial variation. We have partial variation. Partial variation. That is the last type of variation. That is the last type of variation. There are only four types of variation. These are the four types. These are the four main types of variation that we have. Now, I want us to have a look at one by one. That is, we start with direct variation, we go to inverse variation, we go to joint variation, and we also look at partial variation. We need to look at them one by one. Now, let us start with direct variation. Now, in direct variation, we can say that two variables are directly proportional to each other if their values are constant multiples of each other. That two variables are directly proportional to each other if their values are constant multiples of each other. Secondly, is that the symbol for proportional to or varies as is this. This is the symbol of proportional to or varies as in direct variation. Now, for example, y varies as x. Y varies as x. This is direct variation. Or we can say y is directly proportional to x. Y is directly proportional to x. And when we introduce equal sign, then we shall have y equals to kx, where y is a variable and x is a variable, but k is a constant. Now, let us consider an example of direct variation. Now, let us consider this example. The question is, given that x varies directly as the square of y, and x equals to 2 when y equals to 1. Find x when y equals to 4. Now, I want us to represent this statement using a formula. Now, it says that given that x varies directly, that is, x varies directly as the square of y. The square of y, that is y squared. And x equals to 2 when y equals to 1. Find x when y equals to 4. Now, at this point, we can say that this implies that x, when we introduce an equal sign, instead of this sign of proportionality, then we shall have our x as ky squared. Now, x is a variable, y is a variable, but k is a constant, of which we need to find out. Now, it says that x equals to 2 when y equals to 1. X is 2. Now, instead of x, we shall have 2. Then this is k. Then instead of y, we shall have 1. squared. And at this point, we shall have 2 equals to k times 1 squared is just 1. And therefore, it is just the same as k. And therefore, the value of k is 2. That is, the constant is 2. The constant is 2. And therefore, for us to write the equation connecting x and y squared, then we shall have to substitute k, and it will be x equals to, instead of k, we shall have 2, and it will be 2y squared. Now, at this point, it is telling us to find x when y equals to 4. Find x when y equals to 4. And therefore, our x will be, that is 2. Instead of y, we shall have, that is 4. And it will be 4 squared. And at this point, we shall have our value of x as, that is 2 into 4 squared is 16. And therefore, the value of x is 32. The value of x is 32. Now, let us have a look at the second question of direct variation. The question is, x varies directly as y squared. That means we can say that that is, x varies directly as y squared. And now, if we introduce equal sign, then we shall have our x as, let's say the constant is k, it will be ky squared. Now, it says when x is 36, y equals to 3. When x is 36, then our y will be, our y is 3. Then it will be 3 squared. Now, what will be? The question is, find the constant of proportionality. Find the constant of proportionality. The constant of proportionality is k. And now we need to find the value of k. Now, that means we shall have, that is 36 equals to 3 squared is 9. 9 times k, it will be 9k. Now, I want to obtain k by dividing by 9 on both sides. And at this point, by 9, 1, by 9, 1. By 9, 1, by 9, this will be 4. And the constant of proportionality, which is k, is 4. It is 4. Secondly, it says find the equation connecting x and y. Since we have found our constant as k equals to 4, then our equation connecting x and y is x equals to, instead of k, we shall have 4. Then y squared. And this will be our equation connecting x and y. This will be our equation connecting x and y. Lastly, it is telling us to find y when x equals to 100. Now, our equation connecting x and y was x equals to, that is 4y squared. Now, we need to find y when x is 100. Now, at this point, we shall substitute x with 100, and therefore, we shall have, that is 4y squared equals to 100. Now, we want to remain with y squared by dividing by 4 on both sides, and therefore at that point we shall have our y squared equals to 100 divided by 4 is 25. And therefore the value of y will be obtained by finding the square root on both sides. And if we find the square root on both sides, then we shall have our y as plus or minus 5. It will be plus or minus 5. It can either be positive 5 or negative 5.